Yelling at me, I was like, damn, Davy's kind of sexy.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Deborah, student singer songwriter and everything else in between. And today we're gonna talk about one of my favorite shows, Never Have I Ever. Never Have I Ever season 4 came out and I loved it. I do love the show. I do, I promise you. Literally, I have been watching this show since I actually finished high school, and now I'm in university, and it's crazy that the show is also coming to an end around the time that I'm really like ending my own first year of college, which is insane. I just felt like we had to digest some things, and I had a few occasional thoughts and I wanted to share them with you guys. So if you guys like my opinions, and just like, comment and subscribe. I heard that there will be no season 5, and I actually really agree with that. I personally feel like the show does not need a season 5. It does not need to continue because it did what it needed to do. So our first character that we're going to speak about is our queen, Miss Problematic herself, Devi. Devi is such an interesting, flawed, complex character that each time around I cannot help but root for, but at the same time I also want to occasionally slap. Like, you know what I mean? Okay. Devi, as we have established, is problematic, but she's a problematic faith. Do you know what I mean? I still root for her. I still love her. But she has some really controversial moments. Okay. And recently I remember like I was scrolling to see like if anybody had talked about the show yet, and someone said that like, yes, she's super problematic. I think I'll try and find the comment. Yes, she's super problematic, but at the same time she's also like supposed to be 15, and how many of us were really rational when we were 15-year-olds? And I was like, it's true, a lot of us weren't rational. However, some of the decisions she makes, I'm just like, girl, for real. In this season, she's still a problematic faith, but she seems to have definitely matured and grown up a little bit more. However, there's still some moments where I'm like, ooh, Devi, no. Devi is just somewhat unhinged, but she's doing much more better than we saw her in the first season. I feel like she definitely grew this season for sure, and I'm so glad the show finally addressed the fact that she did not like herself. Like, she did not value herself as a human being, and even though she is problematic, she's still very worthy of finding a good relationship and having good intimacy and just being a well-rounded human being. And I'm finally glad that the show like addresses that. I like the way it was done. I didn't feel like it was too rushed for me personally, but I was like, okay, I actually like the fact that we're dealing with this. I love the fact that she at the end of the season finally comes in terms with her family, and her family was such a contentious point, and now we've gotten to a place where she accepts her family. She's no more embarrassed by it, because that was something that really touched on something in the last episodes and in the last few seasons, and I'm glad that she's over that phase now.
You're doing amazing, sweetie. Wow, look at her go.
The show starts off with this whole Devi and Ben situation because, of course, are you team Ben? Are you team Paxton? That's a whole other discussion we'll get into. But one thing I didn't really like how they handled in the show was the whole Devi and Ben situation. I feel like Devi and Ben have just been through so much in the last 3 seasons that for it to just stop after some weird interaction is just crazy to me. Like, Ben has been through so much with Devi. They've helped each other out throughout the whole entire 3 seasons. He's been close with her family. He has just gotten through barriers that no other boy was able to get through before. I mean, she also did cheat on him, so I don't blame the man, but it just felt like really like where they were setting things up for them to just have sex and then just stop talking for such a long time after such a weird interaction, even though we've clearly established that sometimes their interactions are awkward. Was kind of a little weird to me. Seriously, like, after all you guys have been through, you're gonna just get weird? I would have preferred seeing them together and actually weathering through things together, but also at the same time, if they were together, we wouldn't have gotten some good character development that Devi needed and some much needed closure that she also needed, which we'll talk about in a second. As an extension, we can talk about Ben. Ben this season kind of disappointed me. He did. I don't know, like, I felt like his whole shtick was just very lackluster.
It was supposed to give, but it did not give what needed to be gave to the highest of giving, if that makes any sense.
I mean, yes, they had to drag it out for 10 episodes, but I just felt like Ben, after everything that we know about him, his like weird family situation, his constant need for self-validation through academia, and just, I feel like they fleshed him out so much in the seasons, and I felt like they just kind of like kept him and then brought him back later on when they felt like it. He did go through some character development when it came to showing that he was actually nervous when he came to applying for his university admissions, and I was like, okay, at least we're seeing something of him.
Oh, how I was all excited to go to Columbia and be with my people. Turns out I'm too stupid to go there.
But like him being in a relationship with Margot like didn't really make sense to me at all. We could have done more with Ben because we did so much with him in the earlier seasons, and I felt like there was so much potential that we could have done, so much healing that we could have done as well. And also, side note, I don't know if it's mentioned, but when I was watching, no one actually discusses what they want to study besides Fabiola and Elenor in their future universities. Like at some point in the show, it says that Ben says that he gets a law internship, which as a law student is crazy to me. How can you as a law student get an internship just fresh out of high school? That doesn't really make sense. At some point, like, it doesn't really talk about what they actually want to study. Like, it's not like it's expressed that Davy wants to be a doctor or anything like that. It's just they just really want to get into college. But it's like, okay, but what do you actually want to do in college? Fabiola, we know she's on the robotics team, but like what do they actually want to study? That was just really, really funny to me. And also, I feel like we could have done something with that. Like, we could have seen that Ben perhaps chooses a career choice in which he doesn't like or he does like. And they tried to touch on it a little bit, but it felt a little bit flat. With Davy, she got to see a piece of reality. Like, college is not the most amazing thing in the world. As a college student, I can speak for that myself. And touching on that was really, really, really refreshing because everyone was just so focused on academia. And I was like, well, wait till you get to university, you know? But Davy seeing that piece of reality was just so refreshing. And I was like, oh, okay, great, we're addressing this. But I feel like the same could have been done for Ben. It could have been fleshed out a little bit more, but I guess he's not Davy, but yeah, I don't know. Tell me what you guys feel about that. We could do a little bit better with him, but I wasn't completely mad. It's just like, I hated how they just kind of like sidelined him. And then there was like the whole, does he like me? Does he not like me? Even though they've been through so much together. And then he comes back in the last episode and I'm like, okay, we knew he was going to come back, but you could have given us a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? Paxton. Oh my goodness, Paxton. Paxton, I am so glad that we finally addressed Paxton's peaked at high school energy. I'm so glad the show addressed it because I was waiting for it to happen. After seeing Paxton struggle to, you know, choose new college and reckon with the fact that he's no longer going to be a professional swimmer and all of that, it was so, last season I was rooting for him. I was like, yes, my man's going to college and he's going to realize the real world is bigger than his own bubble and he's going to grow as a person. He's going to come back mature. And they kind of did that, but then like I don't know if going back to school, like to his high school, was the best decision to make. But I really hated how they brought him back to high school like that. Like, they did him dirty, but maybe it was necessary for him to grow as a character. But I don't know, I feel like I would have preferred to see him go through ASU, go through the struggles that everybody else goes through, and then for him to realize like, okay, I misjudged this at the beginning. It was scary, but I've gone through so much. The way they set it up, I don't know. This might be a controversial opinion, but going back to high school was actually a little bit embarrassing. Not gonna lie. I don't know. Maybe it's just because me and I don't have good high school memories. It was sort of weird. Like, for example, at the beginning, when he starts out of the high school and he completely drops out of ASU, I was like, but why? We literally spent a whole entire season trying to figure out who Paxton was and what he wanted to do. And for him to just drop it like that felt super unnecessary. And to come back to high school out of all things, you know, it was a little weird. He could have gotten a side job. He could have gotten a job to like do something else and then figure himself out. But I don't know, they wanted to take him back to high school. It was just a little cringe. And I'm glad that his character did realize that at some point that it was a little pathetic. But they tried to make him like the cool guy and I was like, but he's only 19. This plot line of him coming back to his high school could have made more sense to me if he had like gone to college for 3 years and thought that high school was his place where he belonged, and then for him to go back there as like a more developed character in his 20s, that would make more sense. But the fact that he's just fresh out of high school and decided to go back to high school at 19 also was super weird. And then there's that whole elephant in the room of the fact that like he is not 19. He does not look like a 19-year-old. And him throwing a party, and also that scene where he kissed Davy, I was not having that look. Am I team Paxton aesthetically? He is a beautiful human being. Yes, I love Paxton. I mean, I love him as how he looks. He's a beautiful man. I know.
And I'm glad and I'm appreciate that God helps you to work out and he did a great job on you. Yes.
But when he kissed Devi, I got the absolute ick and I actually screamed at my screen. I was like, no, 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 no. We are not going back to this again. Absolutely not. We just got away from this. There's just so many things wrong with the fact that he's 19. He does not look 19 and he's trying to be 19. Kissing a 17-year-old in the locker, and there's a little bit of like, there's no power imbalance, but he's still like an employee and it's still weird. And also their age gap in real life doesn't really make that better. I'm sorry to the Team Paxton lovers. I would love for Team Paxton to happen, but not at their ages. Not why Devi is underage and he's working as a teacher. Also, I feel like Devi deserves better. Does she really deserve better? With the whole substitute teacher, I forgot her name, but her and Paxton together kind of confused me. I saw that they were like setting up that plot line, but at the end of the day, Paxton is still supposed to be 19 and she's supposed to be a college graduate. He just came out of high school and you're a college graduate. Now, I don't know about you guys. Look, Paxton, a hottie for sure. But I don't know about you. If I graduated with my bachelor's and I came back as a teacher in my high school, I would not date a 19-year-old swim coach who just left high school a semester ago. I don't know. I mean, aesthetically, are they beautiful? Yes, they are. But character-wise, it didn't really make sense to me. I mean, it didn't hit. I didn't want them to be together. I wanted her to be a beacon of like, you should go back to college and you should get educated and you should not give up. And that's where it should have stayed. But it just felt weird that they were going out. I was like, you're not 23. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not a 23-year-old. You just graduated from high school a semester ago. That was like 4 months ago. Ciao. Like, there's been a whole summer vacation. How much growth have you had in the summer vacation to date a 23-year-old? Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm being too judgmental, but y'all let me know in the comments, because I was like, she's beautiful. She's an absolutely beautiful character. I love her. I love to see her. I just felt like it was weird. Like, I was like, what? But I do love his character development. I do love that they did not revive Devi and Paxton. I thought that was over, and I'm very glad that it's over because it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And also, if they have ended up together, it wouldn't have worked. It realistically, you and I know it wouldn't have worked. You and I know it would not have worked. It wouldn't have worked if they were together. I knew Team Paxton was just a pipe dream, and that's okay. It's okay if it's a pipe dream, you know, it's fine. When he coached what's his name? Eric? I forgot his name. And the swimming coach thing, I really also felt that they could have just brought back a timeline of Paxton doing something with sports in his future. Like, he could have been a sports coach and he could have learned that on the side, because he's really good at swimming and he clearly loves swimming. Even though he can't swim as well anymore, he could still be a coach and train people. I thought they were going to continue doing that, and maybe, I guess that's what they were kind of alluding to. But like, I don't know, I feel like they could have done a little bit more with that, and he could have just like done his own thing, earned some money on the side. But maybe that's wishful thinking. Maybe I'm doing too much for the characters. Maybe it's just a show, you know. But those are my personal thoughts. The third character I wanted to talk about is Devi's mother. I love Devi's mom. I love Devi's mother. She reminds me of my mom. I love her. I love her so much. She is such an icon. Even though she's still a strict Indian mom, like, I love her character development. I love the fact that she's grown. She really, top tier chef's kiss. Devi's mother.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular, never the same.
Her Indian mom, she's actually really chill. Like, she's actually somewhat really chill. I mean, we've seen her grow from this really strict mom to a fleshed out woman who has needs and desires of her own, and she's coming to fact with the terms that she's lost her husband and she's still a woman and she just would like to feel things. And I was like, yes, give me development. I loved her. I love seeing her. I wish her all the best. I'm so happy that her and Devi's relationship is so much better, which is why I got kind of mad when Devi lied to her about getting to all those colleges. Like, I was like, girl, we've been through this. You can tell your parents if you don't get into college, it's not your fault. You're doing the best that you can, which also perplexed me out of Devi's problematic decisions, but we don't have the time for that. Okay. Speaking of women in Devi's home, her grandmother, can we just talk about that? I love her grandma. I love the familial support. I love it so much. I love it so much. Devi's grandmother turning in from the woman who just used to stay in their home and she was just the grandmom and she just had some funny quirks into being a person who really has her needs and desires and really just wants to be loved and cared for as an older woman. It's just, chef's kiss. I don't have anything negative to say. Baby's grandmom, tops tier, deserves the world. Love her. Somebody else that I thought that really deserved better this season was Kamala. After so much Kamala has been through as being a woman to fighting for her career in the last literally 3 seasons of her deciding not to get married and dating someone else and not to follow tradition for her career, it was really kind of disappointing to see how she dropped a career opportunity that fast for something that she wasn't sure about. It just felt super out of character. I was like, girl, this is what you were fighting for. It really felt out of character to me. She didn't have as much presence as she did in the last few seasons, which was kind of disappointing, honestly. I was like, we could have gotten a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay. Ethan Morales. Why was Ethan here? Why was Ethan here? I know that the show has a history of taking heartthrobs and using them as plot device and then just discarding them later. But at least in the last season, like, the said heartthrob had a good exit. And it was like, okay, well, we don't need you anymore, but Davies learned a lot. And you were somewhat integral to the stories, like to the plot line of the show. Ethan Morales really made no sense to me. And I actually forgot he was in the show after like the last time I saw it. He really had nothing.
Yeah, I fell.
He gave nothing. And for the way that Netflix was really promoting him, I thought he was gonna have like a similar good plot line in the whole Davy, Paxton, Ben situation. I thought this was gonna be another huge hot mess. And it kind of was, but to just sideline him as a character who steals stuff and is just a bad boy, but also just not a good person, without giving him a backstory or just giving him any sort of, like, literally, I kind of forgot that he was entirely there. Besides the spat that Davy had with Elenor about him, if you remove him from the show, does he really do much? Like, some things could be affected, but like also not. Like, he didn't really do much for me. I don't know about y'all. I mean, he was cute, but it wasn't really giving what I thought it was supposed to give. I don't know. That's just personally my opinion, but like, I was like, why are you here? After they broke up, I expected him to come back in the later episodes for some sort of revenge or something, because they made it clear that he's a vindictive character and he doesn't care. But for some reason, the friend group that he has shows up in the last few episodes and he's just nowhere to be found, which doesn't really make any sense. Because, like, why is the side character that was his friend, that I even forgot his name, why is he have a lot more lines and character development than Ethan Morales does? Make it make sense. Because what?
You sound like one of the Sopranos.
Girl, shut the fuck up. You thought you ate that?
What was that? What was the reason? What was the reason for him being here then? It didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, child, I don't know. I felt nothing for Ethan. I felt absolutely nothing. He just happened. I mean, he was a good sexual exploration for Davy, I guess. But like, that was kind of it. And I was like, okay, well, that's it. Okay. Aneesa, I felt like was really sidelined this season. And the fact that she had such a big impact and she went through literally so much, and Girly was traumatized the last season, and for them to just kind of like sideline her into the occasional best friend that shows up, she doesn't even have much input in the group, even though it is implied that she is in the group. I mean, like, we only see her like 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and that's kind of it. And she doesn't really do much, which is kind of sad. We didn't see her and her college decisions. We didn't see what she wanted to do. She wasn't even that much into the group, and sometimes she wasn't even there at all. And I feel like that was such a missed opportunity. As another Indian character that's being claimed in the show, I felt like they could have utilized her more, but like, they just kind of did it. And it's kind of sad because she went through so much. And I don't know if it's just me. Let me know down in the comments. I don't know what they could have done with her, but they could have done something more than just showing her occasionally. That they were trying to focus on the whole Davy's going to college and she's trying to grow up, but like, they could have done a whole Aneesa Ethan thing, like, because he clearly was a side character, but like, they could have given them something at least, you know, like Elenor and Trent, which we're going to talk about in a second. But that was kind of disappointing. Another character I wanted to talk about was Trent. I am so disappointed in how they handled Trent this season. I really am. And I love Trent, even though he is a goofy Joey adjacent kind of character. I really feel like they should have developed him more. And I thought that they were going to let him grow and realize what he wants to do and what he wants to be, because he has no direction. He has no direction whatsoever. They also tried to develop him a little bit in the last few seasons, but like, it felt like she just went back to date the same guy, and they should have just never broken up. You know what I mean? Like they were going somewhere and then they just kind of lost it, and then Elenor just went back to the exact same trend. No like real character development, no like, okay, I know what I want to do with my life, I know that this is what I want to do, and I don't just want to be your boyfriend, but I'm actually a developed person. Like, no, they didn't do that. They didn't do that. Trent just really said, but this guy clearly went through so much in the last seasons. He developed in the last seasons. He became Eleanor's knight in shining armor. They had that whole bust-in scene where he had like his hair in the wind, and I was like, yes, go Trent. And they just kind of like forgot that this season, which is kind of sad. And I felt like he deserved more. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion, but he deserves more. He deserves more. We need to know more about Trent because he's such an interesting character, and he clearly has some sort of depth to him, but I felt like it just wasn't explored in the season as well, which is kind of disappointing because I really liked him for Elenor. He's the complete opposite of her, but I felt like they should have brought in some maturity. And clearly Elenor is going through something, and they could have just done something with that, but they didn't. I don't know how I feel about the Elenor plotline. I don't. And I also don't understand why they made her drop out of high school just because she couldn't get into a conservatory. I don't know how universities work in the US, but I'm pretty sure you can apply to another conservatory. Is there not one? Another one, maybe? Like, or you can take the social media route and you can try and like, you know, do that. I really feel like they just kind of like dropped her character. Like it was like, she doesn't get into this conservatory, it's over. But there's clearly more options available for Elenor, and they just kind of like didn't do that. And I was like, okay, I don't know, as the fashion queen that she is, you're telling me that in the era of Gen Z, Elenor could not have gotten smart, gotten on social media, gotten on YouTube Shorts, done something, and started making a name for herself, instead to just see her mother and rehash the trauma that she has and then give up. But that doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know. For Eleanor's character, it just feels like she was so ambitious and she could have done something. They could have brought in social media just a little bit, you know, helped her out with her plot, because it's kind of sad, especially in this era of 2023. I mean, she's a fashion girly. They could have done something with that. She loves fashion. She could have done something with that via social. Maybe I'm the problem in thinking that these characters could develop more than the show, but that's just me. Like, my brain is like, but she has so many opportunities. I love the show. At the end of the day, don't come for me, okay? I love the show. I still love the show. I will rewatch it when I'm bored. I just wanted to give some opinions and see what you guys thought in the comments, because there's no one I know in my real life who's watching the show but me. Let me know down in the comments what you guys want me to talk about next, but tell me if you guys agree with my opinions. It's perfectly okay if you don't. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you guys like this, tell me what other shows I should be watching and giving reviews on below, because I will be having free time this summer. But yeah, let me know, and I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.